we are going to analyze walking gait, and there are two phases to this, the stance and the swing phase. We're going to start with the stance phase, and this is a weight-bearing phase, and this phase begins with initial contact, or the essential part of it, the heel strike. So we're going to take a look at the top one, if it ever decides to work. So there's the heel strike. I'll highlight it for you guys so you can take a look. There we go. And during this phase, the subtalar joint should be in supination with the tibia externally rotated. And the tibia externally rotated actually causes the joint to go in supination and causes the foot to invert just a little bit. You can see it better on the bottom one. So we're going to look here. Heel contact, subtalar joint in supination, and you can see a little bit of that external rotation. It's better on the other foot, so we'll fast forward a little bit. See the external rotation there? And you get your heel strike and supination. And the initial contact should involve the lateral side of the heel and should continue on the lateral side of the foot. So we'll take a look at that as well. See lateral side. There you go. And then you can see that external rotation. Take it back a little bit. There we go. And then I'll point to the subtalar joint. You can see that kind of moving. The next part is the loading response. And in this part, the limb has to react to the impact of the body weight. So the weight is applied to the foot, and the mid-tarsal and subtalar joints should be in pronation. So you can see that on the bottom down here. So there's your heel strike. And supination switches to pronation. It's very slight, but you can see a slight shift in the back of the foot there. And the foot should remain flat during this period, so you can see that there. Still in the lateral portion, but foot stays flat. See it on the top too. It's your heel strike. Stays flat. And then this event ends when the other leg leaves the ground, and therefore the double limb support period ends. So this would be the end, and down here this would be the end. And you see how the foot remains flat during this period. The mid-stance occurs next, and this begins the single limb support period. And this begins when the weight of the body is directly over the foot and the support limb. The foot should remain flat on the surface with the knee in a firm position, so we will take a look at the top one up here. So a big circle up there. Foot remains firm. Foot is off of the ground. Body weight is directly over. I'll draw a line for you. There you go. And we can see it on the bottom one as well. Top one's a little bit better to see. The body weight shifts on top. And there's a slight lean with this position. It's a posture issue sometimes. You can see there's a little bit of a slight lean up here. And the knee has to stay firm with the body weight directly over the foot. So we can take a look at the bottom one. Knee stays firm with the body weight. And we can take a look at the top as well. Highlight it for you guys. Knee stays firm throughout the period. And that is the end of the mid-stance. Right. The terminal stance is next, and the essential part of this phase is that the heel leaves the ground on the supporting limb. So the body has to move over the supporting foot, as we see here, and the other limb starts to provide the new base of support. So we can see it right there. The heel left the ground. I'll highlight it. Down here on the bottom one. There we go. And as the heel rises, the gastrocnemius contracts to activate plantar flexion, which we can see down here. I'll point to it right about there. There we go. And then we can take a look at the top one as well and see the same thing. Heel's leaving the ground right now. And there's your plantar flexion. The last period of the stance phase is the pre-swing, and this is a period of transition back to a double support. And the toes off of the surface or the ground is the main component of this period, and the limb is unloading from the ground and preparing to swing forward. So we can see it in the top video. There's a terminal stance, and toes are off the surface here. And the weight should be on the first metatarsal phalangeal joint, while the plantar flexors generate the force to push off. So we can see that on the top video, right there. There we go. And the plantar fascia tightens and the metatarsal phalangeal joint goes into extension, right there. And all this causes the medial longitudinal arch to heighten. You can see that up there. And this would end the stance phase. The next phase is the swing phase, and this begins when the toes leave the floor, and it begins again when the heel strike occurs during initial contact of the next part of the walking gait. So the initial swing begins the swing phase, and it starts, as I said, when the toes leave the ground, and the knee should reach maximum flexion of about 60 degrees. So we'll take a look at the bottom one. There we go. Then we'll measure it on the top. So toes leave the ground here. We'll measure that. Right, so we'll measure that. Should be about 60 degrees. So there could be a little bit more flexion in this one. So the ankle also dorsiflexes to help with the toe clearance. So we'll get rid of that angle and we'll take a look at that. You see that shift. Ankle kind of points upward and dorsiflexes. And that is the end of the first part of the swing phase. And the next period is the mid-swing. And the knee extends from its maximum flexion, and the tibia then moves into a position perpendicular to the floor. So we can see that right about there. And toe clearance should occur, and the propulsion force continues to develop to get that foot forward. You can see it right there. Right there. The back of the heel clears the toes of the other foot. And from that maximum flexion over here, there it goes, perpendicular. Makes kind of an upside down T. I'll draw that for you. Like that. It's kind of an upside down L, but you guys know what I mean. And the final period of the swing phase is the terminal swing. And the momentum gained from the toe off carries the leg through the pendulum-like motion. We can see that on the bottom. There's a lot of momentum going. And the trunk should be straight, and the knee extends to prepare for initial contact again. We'll take a look at that. See, it kind of like propels forward, and you get that initial heel strike again. And that is the end of the walking gait.